So now in this tutorial, we are going to take a look at creating this thing on his chest. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Let's press spacebar, jump back into our front view, and I'll press 4 right now. And the shape that we are going to create is not going to be a cube, but instead a polygon plane. So create polygon primitives. Let's go to plane, and we will start off by left mouse clicking on that little corner, dragging it over to that corner. Okay, so let's press spacebar, press W, and in our side view we'll just move this guy forward like this, and in your perspective you could see what it's doing. Okay, so from the image it looks as though it does come off of his chest plate a little bit, so let's put that kind of like right here in our side view. All right, and in our perspective, let's just take a quick look at it. So I still have it selected, and we can press F to frame in. We want to right mouse click and hold on that face and go to edge. Double click on this outside edge until it turns orange. I'm actually going to close my attribute editor so I have more space. And then in our front view, we're going to press Control E, and we will press R. And let's click on the yellow square right here and scale it up wider. Okay, so it's not going to be perfect, the width. Okay, and let's click on this one here, so scale it up. Okay, so this top edge is a little bit higher or a little bit lower than this one, and that's fine. I think we're perfectly fine. Now we are going to press W, and then in our side view, okay, we're going to hold Shift, left mouse click, and push this back into the chest region like that. Okay, so in our perspective, this is what we have. That's okay for now, but we're going to definitely make it look a little bit nicer. So let's right mouse click and hold and go to face. Let's click on that face, hold hold Shift, left mouse click, and push this back inside like that. Okay, so now we will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and push this in just a little bit more. I think that's good right there. Okay, now what we want to do is to create all these little shapes. Okay, so the first shape that we will create will be this black little, I guess it's border here, and we can press 5. Let's go to shading, X-ray, and we'll take this shape that we have here selected, press Control D, and let's move it over so that it is in the center of this black shape. Press R, scale it down, and there we go. Okay, the next shape that we're going to create is going to be a cylinder. So let's go to Polygon Primitives. Let's go to cylinder and zoom in a little bit closer and look at this shape. So we'll hold Shift, left mouse click and drag until it's the same width. We'll press W, press Control D, move it over, and there we go. Now we'll hold Shift and select, actually it says left mouse click and drag, and we have a lot of things selected when we did the left mouse click and drag. Let's press 4 and hold Shift and select that. Okay, Now we can press 5 again, jump back into our perspective, and move those two shapes forward. Okay. Now, for the fun part, we're going to take this shape here. We're going to press Control D, and we'll move it right in the center of this. So let's press spacebar. Let's move it right here, right in the center of this vertical black line. Now we'll press R, scale it down like this. Okay, and we are going to right mouse click and hold, go to vertex, and this top row of vertices, we want to move them straight up like that, and then this bottom row of vertices, we move these guys straight down like that. Okay, let's zoom out just a little bit. And that looks good. So we will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode. We'll press Control D, and we'll move this over. And then we'll press Control D one more time, and then we'll move this over. Okay, so we are going to hold Shift, select that one there. Right mouse click and hold, go to Control Vertex. And then right mouse click and hold on this one and go to Control Vertex, or Vertex. Let's select these vertices and move them straight down so that they match the silhouette of that black shape. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with these guys here. And voila. Now we can simply right mouse click and hold, object mode, click on here, Control D, move it over to the right, click on this one, Control D, move it over to the right, and we'll press spacebar, we'll look at this shape, and before we do anything further to this, before we do the booleans, we want to isolate this geometry and do a really nice bevel. So let's press Control 1. Let's look at the back side of this geometry. Okay, it's gone. That face is missing, which is fine. We will right mouse click and hold, go to Edge. Let's manually hold Shift and click on the outermost edges. Okay, so hold Shift. Okay, and now we're going to hold Shift and double click on the outer edge here. See, it highlights it. Hold Shift, double click that one, and one last time double click this one. Okay, now as I double clicked it, it didn't select all of the rest of the edges, so let's go in here, manually select, hold Shift. Okay, now we want to click on Edit Mesh, Bevel. Okay, now this bevel looks a little bit too wide, so we'll change the fraction to value of 0.2, and then change your segments to a value of 2. Press Enter on your keyboard. We will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and there we go. So a simple bevel on the outside edges gives us this. So now we're going to hold Control, press 1. We're going to select that shape, hold Shift, and select these other shapes, and go to Mesh, Combine. This is a shape that we want to keep, so we are going to press Control, hold Shift, select that shape here, go to Mesh, Booleans, Difference, and there we go. Okay. Now to make it a hole, we're just going to keep it as is, and we can always apply a black color to that shape. And then with this one here, and with this cylinder selected, let's press F. Okay, we are going to go to Mesh Tools, insert Edge Loop, and put an edge loop right there. We are going to press W, double click on this outside line, go to Edit Mesh, Bevel, and change our fraction to a value of 0.2, and then our segments to a value of 2. Okay, and now we will right mouse click and hold, go to face, click on that face, hold shift, and select all of these triangles all the way around. So we're going to create a nice looking knob. So we'll hold shift, left mouse click and drag it once, hold shift, left mouse click and drag it 2 times, hold shift 3 times, and now we're going to press Control E, press R, and scale it down 1 more time. Okay, so now we can right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and just simply replace that one with this one. Press W, Control D, move it over. Now we can jump back into our front view and get those guys aligned here. Let's press Control D and move this one right there to the chest, right in the center of that circle. Press R, scale it wider. W to move it down, Control D, and move it straight up in the y-axis. So I'll hold shift to select both of them, press R, and scale them both up simultaneously, and there we go. So press spacebar and look at it in our side view, and just simply push those guys back till it goes into the body, like so. Press spacebar. Okay, so because of shape, we want to move this guy forward a little bit more. Okay, and then let's take the edge, so let's right mouse click and hold, go to edge, double click this edge, and move it all the way inside. So let's do that. Let's right mouse click and hold, go to edge, double click this edge, and move it all the way inside. Okay, so right mouse click and hold, object mode, there's our shape, and we are halfway there. So I will begin working on the eyes with you guys, and after we do the eyes, then we'll move on to the other parts. So I like this shape. I like this shape. No pun intended. Let's jump back into the front view. And let's take this shape, Control D, move it up. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. Move it right in the middle of the eye. Let's press R, scale it a little bit wider. Bring it down like so. Let's press spacebar and jump over into our perspective view. Okay, so we want to move this guy back a little bit into the eye, like that. Okay. And then, let's move it a little bit closer. We're going to jump into the front view again. go to create, polygon primitive, sphere. So we'll hold shift, left mouse click right in the middle of that shape until we get the right width. Press spacebar, and in our side of our character's head we can press 4 to look at that shape, and then press 5, move it forward. Okay, so jump in there, and it's probably a little bit too round, so we press R and just flatten it this way a little bit more. Okay, so we'll press W, hold shift, click on this guy, press Control D, move it over, and let's find the position in our front view by pressing spacebar and looking at that same shape. Alright, now the mouth looks like it's going to be a fun thing to work on. What we can do is use a very simple method, and that's going to be our booleans. So let's go to create, poly primitives. This time we'll use a cube. We'll hold shift and put it right there. Now with this cube, we want to press R, scale it wider so that the width of this cube matches the, I guess you could say, the bottom of where the mouth is. Press W and move it down just a little bit right there, and I'll press R. Let's scale it up. So we're just trying to get this shape to match the front of the head. Okay, now we want to bring this shape towards us, so press spacebar, and in your perspective let's move this guy forward. Okay, press spacebar. We are going to right mouse click and hold and go to vertex. Let's make a highlighted selection, press R, and get that nice little angle. Next we're going to press spacebar. Let's jump into our perspective. Right mouse click and hold, go to edge, and we want to highlight this entire shape. Actually, you know what, let's just click on that edge, hold shift and select that edge. Okay, so we have this edge selected, we held shift and selected that edge. Now it's time for us to go to edit mesh, bevel, and we want the fraction to match the same angle as this shape. So let's change this maybe to a value of 0.2, and then let's change the segments to a value of 5, so it's really smooth. Now we can right mouse click and hold, go to object mode and click on that shape, press W, and put this right inside of the robot's mouth like this, intersecting. Okay, now before we go any further, we're going to click on this shape and we're going to go to mesh, smooth. Okay, let's click on this guy, hold shift, click on that shape and go to mesh, booleans, difference. Alright, looking pretty awesome. The next step is to create the teeth and the bottom lip. So we're going to right mouse click and hold on this shape, click on the mouth, press W, and let's push it back a little bit further like so. And then in our front view, let's press spacebar so we can see what we're doing. Let's right mouse, click and hold, go to object mode. All right, so we have to create this shape here. Okay, we have to create this shape, probably by using a polygon cube and then a few other cubes for the teeth, and then we'll wrap up the tutorial. So let me go to create, or let us go to create, polygon primitives, cube, and we will click on the corner of the mouth, drag it all the way over, and then we will left mouse click and drag it up. Okay, so what we want to do with this part of this geometry is match it with the mouth. So we can right mouse click and hold, go to vertex. All right, so the reason why it selected the vertices for the robot's body is because we have to jump into our perspective, press 4, and move our shape out. We'll press 5, and there we go. So let's press spacebar, jump back into the front view, right mouse click and hold, go to vertex, and now it selects the vertices of only that rectangle. Let's make a highlighted selection of the bottom ones. Press R, scale them wider so that it kind of fits in the crack of the mouth here. Okay, this line. If we click on shading and turn off X-ray, this is what we can, hopefully you guys see. And then we could take that edge there, sorry, that row of vertices, and bring it to the corner of the mouth here, like that. Okay, a little bit wider is fine. I can move this a little bit wider. And now we're going to jump back into the X-ray. So go to shading, X-ray. And we're going to add a few edge loops on here to make this part round. So let's right mouse click and hold, go to object mode. There we go. It's an object mode. And we want to probably add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's go to edit mesh, sorry, mesh tools, insert edge loop tool option box. Let's click on multiple edge loops, change this number to 6. Actually, let's do 7. Close that. And now we're going to click on this line. And there we go. So the next process is to press W and move some of these vertices down. So right mouse click and hold, vertex. I'll start off with the middle part of the mouth, bring it straight down to match that line. Now I'll select those, which you should be doing this with me. Okay, and we'll select those two. So as you can see, we're making this very straight, very linear piece of geometry become smooth. Okay, so that looks nice. We will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode. Okay, next thing that we want to do is press spacebar and isolate this. So we'll press and hold control, press 1, spacebar, and we are going to press R, scale it down just a little bit like this. Okay, let's look directly underneath it. Right mouse click and hold, go to face, click on that face there, hold shift and double click on the face right next to it. Now it's actually selected the entire outside. We really don't want that, so let's manually click on these faces directly underneath and press delete. Now we will right mouse click and hold, go to edge, double click this edge, hold shift and double click the adjacent edge. Select these two edges at the corner, this edge at the upper corner. Alright, so it's pretty much selecting the same number of edges all the way around. Next step, we're going to go to edit mesh, bevel. We'll change the fraction to a value of 0.2 and change the segments to a value of 3. We will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode. We can press 3 on this object so it looks smoother. Press Control 1 and click on this geometry, press W, move it back into the mouth like that. Okay. And last but not least, we are going to work on the teeth. We can click on the around the eyeball shape here, press 3. Click around that guy, press 3. Press 3 on these guys so it smooths out, looks a little bit nicer. You don't want to press 3 on this guy because if you do, then that is what happens. That's why we bevel the outside to make it look nice. This one, we can actually bevel it. So let's go to Edge, double click the outside, hold Shift, double click that one. Select these 4 corners. And then on the inside, we'll select these 4 edges. Go to Edit Mesh, Bevel, and we'll change this to value of 3. Okay, so back to them teeth. All right, spacebar, jump into the front view, and we'll go to the word create, poly primitive, and then let's click on, let's go to plane. So let's start off with the middle tooth, I guess. And I'll start up here, bring it down like that. Press W, which is the move tool. We need to move the tool, the tooth in front of the robot's head. So let's move it forward like that. And kind of like right there inside of the mouth. Let's press spacebar. And we need to duplicate, so press Control D, move it to the left. Okay, and then let's right mouse click and hold, go to vertex. Let's take that little vertex and move it up. Let's take that one and move it up. So it's a little bit of a gap. Let's do the same thing with our original tooth. Take both of these guys and kind of move them up. Let's click on this geometry, Control D, move it over so it covers that gap. Go to vertex and we'll select both of these vertices, move them up, and we'll move that back one up a little bit. Let's right mouse click and hold, object mode, Control D, and that is our last tooth on the left side. So Z, if you ever go to vertex mode on the body. Okay. So let's right mouse click and go to vertex mode there. There we go. It's working for me now. As you can see, sometimes it's a little bit fidgety, especially with us being in the X-ray mode. We think we're selecting something in front, but it could be something in back. So there's our teeth, and we're going to select 1, 2, 3. So now we have these 3 teeth selected. Let's press Control D. Let's move them over to the right, and then we're going to change. So this is the Z axis. We're going to change the X to negative value. So let's go over here to the channel box and change the scale X to -1. So they just pretty much switch positions. So I'll take the corner tooth, move it over there, take the big tooth, move it over here, and then take the medium tooth and move it right there. Okay, right mouse click and hold, and we can adjust a few of the vertices as you see fit. Okay, let's click on that one, a few vertices, and without any further ado, we will combine these. So right mouse click and hold, object mode. Let's click on this one on the far left. So I'm in my perspective. We'll hold shift and select all the teeth. Okay, like that. Let's make sure we have nothing else selected. And then we'll go to mesh combine. Now that they're all combined, we will press Control E and click on the blue arrow and drag it forward. We will right mouse click and hold, go to object mode, and then we'll go to modify, center pivot. We'll press W, and there's your teeth. Now they do look a little bit smoother in the reference image. So with the teeth selected, press and hold Control and press 1. Okay. Now we're going to right mouse click and hold, go to edge, and we're going to highlight all of these edges going across, and we'll go to edit mesh, bevel, and then we'll change the segments to a value of 3. We will right mouse click and hold, press Control 1, press spacebar, and there we go. So before we wrap this up, let's go ahead and select the hand, and we will go to mesh combine, and then we'll go to modify center pivot, press W, Control D, move it over, and change the scale X to -1. Click on the leg, press Control D, move it over, change the scale X to -1, and then in our front view we can align everything. Okay, so rotate that just a little bit if you want to. Rotate that leg, press spacebar, and that concludes the little doodads on the robot. Next section we're going to add the antenna, shade it, and call it a day. So I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Oh, and one more thing before we wrap this up. Let's save it. So let's click on File, Save Scene As, and we will call this robot robot teeth. Alright, that wraps it up. See you in the next tutorial.